Top left side of Dragon Skills, Hot-Headed Gaming's and NightPhoenix, currently living in Poland, but he is of course a Ukrainian Protoss. In the bottom right side, Cheeky Kalaris. What on earth is this? We've got a gas, we've got a pool. I don't know this man like this at all, because he's always been a very macro-oriented Zerg. But apparently, not today. It's HateMe. Nemshar is not retired. He does still play, and we've invited him a few times to the Big Brain Bouts as well. But he moved to Canada a couple years ago. Did his thing there in Canada. Is now back in Sweden. But I think he's either studying or working. He's definitely not full-time, 24/7 only StarCraft 2. You guys call young Yakov YY? That's legitimately the first time I ever see this. Is that really a thing? You guys are calling him YY? I like that kid. I think he's good. But obviously still has some learning to do as well. No, I'm not saying they're wrong. It's just new to me. Just like this opening and the HateMe that we are seeing today is a little new. It's all a little gimmicky. Very aggressive. Not very economic. We're going for mind games. It's working. Can you live from StarCraft 2? Do you mean as a player, or do you mean as a streamer, or as a caster, or do you mean me personally? As we have 4 links running to the other side of the map, grabbing a probe. The pylon gets cancelled. That pylon was just temporarily there to make sure that these 4 links wouldn't run into the main base. Overall, like, if I'm NightPhoenix right now, I just look at this and be like, alright, cool. You went for a bunch of links. Early pull, early gas, late expand. You're not gonna get too much done here as long as I don't mess up. And so far, he's not messing up. This is advantage NightPhoenix, guys. I'm gonna use the tennis terms a little bit in the upcoming weeks, because it's Wimbledon time. Who's gonna win it, guys? Do we believe in Alcaraz? Or is it gonna be Djokovic? As a player, for example, I mean, tournament prices seem kind of low, just curious. There's definitely a whole bunch of players that can live off StarCraft, because obviously they get salaries, and salaries in StarCraft 2 are very all over the place and very unfair. It's a speech that I've had many times, because it has a lot to do with the name that you are, the pool that you have in certain platforms. There are some very good StarCraft 2 players that will only get a couple $100 a month. Then you also have StarCraft 2 players that are on the same level and will get a couple thousand. And then you have a few good ones that are going to make even more than a couple thousand a month. So you can absolutely live from it. Are you making the same money as a Counter-Strike or a Dota or a League of Legends pro? No, obviously not. But yeah, you can definitely have a way above average living if you're very good. Or if you have a following somewhere. But it's not like 2010, 2011 where you've got 100+ people. It's like, oh, we're all full-time SC2 and we're all doing really well. It's not that easy. But if you are on a great team like Team Liquid or Shopify or Basilisk, then obviously you're going to be fine. Or the Platinum Heroes, because they've got Coco and Goblin, 2 of the absolute biggest stars in the foreign scene. Thank you to Jadlantis for the 66 months. I appreciate it, matey. Does Cat still have his team? Yes. Root Gaming is still a thing. Root Gaming is absolutely still a thing. First Oracle is out, second Oracle is on the way. NightPhoenix was probably very concerned about a potential all-in. Like, we are just kind of looking at this game, and even though I don't know the outcome, a replay cast to me is always different than a live cast. So I don't go over all the little details. If you are NightPhoenix, the opening is scary. Based on what you scout, you're like, okay, what is happening? What is the follow-up? But yeah, at one point, you're like, well, I don't see anything. So I guess I can build probes. I can go up to 3 bases. And once I've got my oracles, I'm going to feel a lot safer. We've got the 2 oracles right. Oh, careful, mate. That's not a very sweet spot to put your oracles on hold position or AFK. So far, so good, though. At least a much more peaceful start between these two than Game 1. Game 1 was a bit bananas, with a whole lot of battling and maybe not the most technical high-level StarCraft, but it was fun. And that's what matters. You're concerned that Stormgate won't be able to draw as big of a crowd as C2 did in the when it first dropped. Well, I think it'd be very surprising if Stormgate did manage to do that, because StarCraft 2 was obviously a highly anticipated game. Back then, RTS was incredibly popular, StarCraft was a big franchise, and Blizzard was the holy grail of any game developer. So I think it's very hard to get that amount of hype. But what I actually am a believer in is that it's actually a lot better to start somewhat small, obviously not ultra small. Starting ultra small is very bad, as these adepts do get surrounded, oracles show up, activate Boulder Beam, few adepts fall, but not too bad for HateMe, as long as he doesn't take any follow-up damage here. Like, I like a good healthy buzz around Stormgate, but it's actually better to have slow growth than have an ultimate hype weekend where it's like Ninja and Pokimane are playing Stormgate and we've got 400,000 viewers, and after that it will only ever get worse. Like that's actually kind of rough if that's how it goes. So a slow and steady growth is a whole lot better than an amazing high peak weekend and then a never-ending downswing. What's my opinion on Stormgate? I'm not allowed to talk about it. Hello, Gubbis. You didn't have Twitch, but you did have other streaming platforms. Playing Warcraft 3 and SC2. Obviously nothing close to a pro or something. I mean, you don't need to play RTS games to be a pro. What I think is often funny is if you think back of the casting in the early days, it was ultra explanatory and everyone watched StarCraft with the idea, oh, we gotta learn, we gotta get better. But I think that's kind of dumb. I feel like if you want to watch StarCraft just because you enjoy it, but you have absolutely zero ambition to get better or get good, that's okay. I don't watch F1 because I'm gonna drive an F1 car one day. It's just fun to watch. And I think the same can go for StarCraft 2. Just watch a couple nerds battle it out. We did have Lynx, by the way, cancelling a third base. I hope it was a cancel, and it was. We didn't lose a Nexus there or something. Lynx do get a little surround on Stalkers, as the Spire for HateMe is done. And I don't know how I feel about Lynx and Aspire, but it could work. It kind of depends on when NightPhoenix scouts it. If the first time that NightPhoenix seized it, he just warped in a bunch of stalkers in the center of the map and 10 mutas show up in his main base, then I think this will be a very uncomfortable game for the Ukrainian Protoss. If he just kind of catches a muta here on this side of the map, then I think it's not too bad. The Lynx could be a problem. Maybe HateMe should bring the mutas home, because the Lynx can absolutely wipe the floor with the Stalkers if the mutas kill the Oracles, but right now the Oracles are the biggest threat for these Zerglings. HateMe is going to disengage and the mutas have shown up in the main. We go for a massive warp in the main base instead. Main army though of NightPhoenix is still at the bottom side of the map, so he's not returning home. A few probes will fall, but I guess this fight is slightly more important as the Oracles will go forward. Activate Pulsar Beam. 2 out of 5 Oracles have died. I think it's good enough for HateMe. +1 Zerglings, pretty good. All 5 Oracles die. 8 probes have died. That's more than good enough for the Austrian Zerg. That is perhaps game-ending good. NightPhoenix needed a few more Stalkers in the front if he wanted to take a game-deciding fight on the other side of the map. Well, he needed every single unit he could get his hands on, and just a few Zealots on the ground to mess with those Lynx. Because the Lynx have insane attack upgrades, but +1 Zealots would still two-shot them. So if he takes that fight with 4 or 5 Zealots on the ground, it probably goes a whole lot better. Now the muta count is just outrageously high. We have 19 mutalisks all of a sudden on the map. You can build 1 Phoenix at a time all you want. I think we're all tied up between these two guys. I do not see... I mean, I guess if Goblin can win on Dragon Skills, so can NightPhoenix. That was the bigger comeback, but I do think this is kind of game over. Unless HateMe just takes a couple of terrible fights in range of cannons and batteries. I kind of feel like this should be game over. Pew pew pew, pew pew. First Phoenix falls immediately. The second one that just came out is almost dead. Not quite, but 11 probes went out. And obviously +2 Zerglings are going to have a field day against just a few Zealots if there is no stock support for the Zealots. NightPhoenix is a warrior. He's a believer. He's a fighter. But he's kind of dead here. Kuba says it's not me, so we're safe. I wouldn't even really want to play this game if I'm NightPhoenix, to be totally honest. I just get very sad when I'm chasing after 22 mutalisks and they're killing probes left, right, and center. And then eventually they're like, you know what? We've got enough mutas to just get on top of all your Stalkers. Then you need to ring over the other Stalkers, but then you lose more against Zerglings. I'll pass. I think I would always get more than one pylon, by the way. The only perhaps saving grace here for NightPhoenix, and there really isn't any, guys. I think he's ultra dead. But is that HateMe's economy is not crazy good yet. Because he was at like 61 or 62 drones. Then I guess it's always possible to still lose. But he has cranked out a few more drones at this point. If we get 100 army supply of the Zerg, the meter count is so freaking high that we can just turn around, get on top of Phoenixes. Stalkers die, and this should be the final fight of the game. GG, guys, called. It's HateMe.